After the age of 60, the body rarely announces change with noise or drama. It does not send warnings that arrive all at once. Instead, it whispers. It adjusts quietly, subtly, often beneath awareness. Strength does not disappear in a single moment. It slips away gradually, almost politely, until one day a familiar movement feels unfamiliar. Standing up requires a pause. Stairs invite hesitation. Balance, once automatic, now asks for attention. Many people assume this is simply age doing what age does, an unavoidable fading. Yet biology tells a more interesting, and far more hopeful, story. For decades, older adults have been given the same advice with unwavering confidence: walk every day. Walk more. Walk longer. And walking is good. It keeps the heart beating, the lungs breathing, the mind engaged with the world. It connects us to sunlight, rhythm, and routine. But walking by itself does not tell the whole story of how the human body maintains strength. And this is where misunderstanding quietly grows. Many people walk faithfully for years and still feel their legs weakening. They do everything they were told to do, and yet the chair feels lower, the curb feels higher, and the ground feels less forgiving. This contradiction is not a failure of effort. It is a gap in understanding. Muscle tissue is not maintained by motion alone. It is maintained by challenge. From a biological perspective, muscle exists in conversation with resistance. It adapts when it is asked to work against load, to stabilize, to hold, to control. When that conversation grows quiet, muscle begins to downsize. This process has a name: sarcopenia. It is not a disease in the dramatic sense. It is a biological response to reduced demand. When muscles are no longer required to produce meaningful force, the body reallocates resources elsewhere. This is efficient biology, not punishment. The problem arises when modern life and well-meaning advice remove resistance almost entirely. Walking is rhythmic and repetitive. It uses momentum. It asks the legs to move forward, but rarely to stop, hold, or stabilize with intention. The quadriceps, the powerful muscles on the front of the thighs, are designed not just to move the leg, but to control the knee, protect the joint, and support the body when rising from a seated position. In walking, these muscles are present, but they are under-challenged. They are passengers rather than drivers. Over time, they weaken quietly. This is why someone can walk daily and still feel their legs tremble when standing up. The nervous system recognizes this weakness long before the mind does, and it responds with caution. Balance feels uncertain because stability is uncertain. Balance itself is often misunderstood. It is not simply a matter of inner ear function or concentration. Balance is a full-body conversation between muscles, joints, nerves, and the brain. Every time weight shifts, tiny stabilizing muscles around the hips, knees, and ankles fire in precise patterns. When these muscles are strong and responsive, balance feels effortless. When they weaken, the brain compensates by slowing movement and increasing fear. This is not weakness of character. It is intelligence at work, attempting to prevent injury. Falls rarely happen during walking straight ahead. They happen during transitions, rising from a chair, turning too quickly, stepping sideways, reaching. These moments demand that one leg briefly take responsibility for the entire body. If that leg cannot respond with strength and control, the margin for error disappears. This is why walking alone, despite its many benefits, does not protect against falls as effectively as many assume. The body must be trained for the moments that matter most, not just the moments that feel comfortable. Consider the simple act of sitting and standing. It is one of the most fundamental movements of human independence. From a physiological standpoint, it is a complex orchestration of muscle activation. The quadriceps extend the knee. The gluteal muscles extend the hips. The core stabilizes the spine. Balance is negotiated moment by moment. When this movement becomes difficult, daily life contracts. People begin to avoid low chairs. They use their hands more. They hesitate. Over time, confidence erodes. Yet this movement can be trained safely and effectively even late in life, because the human neuromuscular system remains adaptable far longer than once believed. Adaptation is a central theme of biology. Muscles respond to the signals they receive. When asked to work, they respond by becoming stronger, more efficient, more coordinated. This does not stop at 60 or 70 or even 80. What changes is the margin for error and the need for intention. Movements must be slower, more controlled, more thoughtful, but they can still be deeply effective. Take the act of straightening the leg while seated. It appears modest, almost trivial. Yet biologically, it is a direct message to the quadriceps: you are still needed. Holding the leg extended for a moment increases time under tension, a key stimulus for muscle preservation. Lowering the leg slowly trains control, teaching the muscle to resist gravity rather than surrender to it. This type of work does more than strengthen muscle fibers. It retrains the nervous system, improving the brain's confidence in the body's capacity. Confidence, in this sense, is not psychological optimism. It is neurological trust. Trust between the brain and the body is built through repetition and success. When movements are performed slowly and safely, without pain, the nervous system relaxes its protective barriers. Muscles fire more completely. Balance improves. The body begins to move with less hesitation. This is why control matters more than intensity. Fast movements can hide weakness behind momentum. Slow movements reveal and correct it. Standing up from a chair, when done with intention, becomes a powerful signal of self-reliance. Pressing through the heels engages the posterior chain. Leaning slightly forward aligns the center of mass. Pausing at the top reinforces stability. Lowering slowly trains eccentric strength, which is critical for joint health and fall prevention. These are not abstract concepts. They are the mechanics of daily life, refined through practice. Then there is the act of standing on one leg. It seems almost symbolic, a quiet test of balance and courage. Yet it is one of the most neurologically rich exercises the body can perform. Standing on one leg forces the brain to integrate information from the eyes, the inner ear, the joints, and the muscles simultaneously. It strengthens the small stabilizers of the hip that protect the pelvis and spine. It teaches the ankle to respond quickly to subtle shifts. Perhaps most importantly, it trains the body for the unexpected. Life rarely moves in straight lines. It demands adaptation. A slip, a misstep, a sudden turn. These moments are where strength and balance intersect. Practicing single leg stability, even with support, prepares the body for these demands. Holding the position calmly, breathing steadily, teaches the nervous system that stillness under load is safe. Over time, this reduces the fear response that often precedes falls. Fear itself deserves reflection. Fear of falling is not irrational. It is a learned response to instability. When the body feels unreliable, the mind responds with caution. Movement becomes stiff, reactive, rushed. Ironically, this increases risk. Training strength and balance does more than change muscle tissue. It changes perception. It restores a sense of agency. The body feels capable again, and the mind allows movement to flow. There is a quiet dignity in this process. It does not rely on extremes or heroics. It relies on consistency, patience, and respect for the body's signals. Small efforts repeated daily accumulate. Biology responds not to intensity alone, but to regularity. The nervous system thrives on familiarity. Muscles thrive on gentle challenge. Bones respond to load by maintaining density. These systems are interconnected, each supporting the other. Bone tissue, often thought of as static, is alive and responsive. It strengthens when muscles pull on it with force. This is why resistance-based movements influence bone health more effectively than low-impact activity alone. When muscles contract against resistance, they send mechanical signals through tendons into bone. Bone cells respond by reinforcing structure. This process slows bone loss and, in some cases, modestly reverses it. Walking, while beneficial for circulation, does not provide sufficient stimulus for this adaptation in many older adults. What emerges from this understanding is not a rejection of walking, but a reframing of its role. Walking is movement. Strength training is preparation. One supports the cardiovascular system. The other protects independence. Together, they create resilience. But without resistance and balance work, walking stands alone, insufficient to address the silent erosion of strength. There is also a deeper lesson here about aging itself. Aging is often portrayed as decline, but biologically it is more accurately described as increased sensitivity. The body becomes more responsive to both neglect and care. Small deficits have larger consequences. Small improvements have outsized benefits. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is a call for precision. Precision in movement. Precision in attention. Precision in listening to the body. When exercises are chosen thoughtfully, when movements are controlled rather than rushed, the body responds with gratitude. Strength returns not as brute force, but as steadiness. Balance returns not as rigidity, but as calm adaptability. The human body is not designed to be preserved in stillness. It is designed to adapt through use. Even later in life, muscle fibers retain the ability to grow stronger. Nerve pathways retain the ability to become more efficient. The brain retains the ability to learn. What changes is not the possibility of improvement, but the cost of ignoring it. Inactivity accelerates decline because it sends a clear biological message: these tissues are no longer needed. Movement with intention sends the opposite message. It says, this body is still in conversation with the world. It is still participating. Perhaps the most profound aspect of strength training after 60 is not the physical change, but the psychological shift. Each controlled repetition is an act of self-respect. Each balanced stand is a quiet affirmation of presence. Over time, these moments accumulate into confidence that is felt not only in the legs, but in the way one approaches daily life. There is no requirement for perfection. There is no deadline imposed by age. The body responds where it is met. Starting slowly is not a sign of limitation. It is a sign of wisdom. Progress measured in stability, comfort, and confidence is progress that endures. Science continues to refine our understanding of aging, but one truth remains consistent: the body thrives when it is challenged appropriately. Strength, balance, and coordination are not luxuries reserved for youth. They are skills that can be practiced, maintained, and, in many cases, reclaimed. In this light, exercise becomes more than a task. It becomes a dialogue with biology, a reminder that the systems that carried us through decades of life are still listening, still capable, still responsive. What they ask for is not punishment, but participation. And so the invitation is simple, though not easy: to move with intention, to slow down enough to feel the work, to choose movements that reflect the realities of daily life, to trust that even now, adaptation is possible. Because aging does not erase the body's capacity for strength. It simply asks that we engage it more thoughtfully, with patience, curiosity, and compassion for the remarkable system that continues to support us, quietly and faithfully, every day.